Hello, I'm Iman. Welcome to the complete Premiere software tutorial from 0 to 100. In this session, I want to teach you about the effect control, the timeline menu, and how to do a simple edit. Let's move on to the timeline section. Within the timeline section of the interface, we call each of these individual rows a track. The letter V represents your video tracks, while the letter A represents your audio tracks. When you simply drag your video clip onto the designated video track, we need to drag the audio onto the audio section. Always make sure to drag the video onto the video section and the audio onto the audio section. You can also bring it in directly. Because the part I'm working on right now doesn't have any audio, as you can see, only the video appears. If I bring in this video, you'll see it has audio, and both will come in together, which you can separate. In Premiere, when displaying, priority is given to the sequence or footage that is on the highest layer. Look, up to this point, if I play it, this shot on V1 will play, or video 1, then video 2 will play, and after that, video 3 will be played. It's a priority and a higher layer that can be seen. The music section, or actually the audio section, is where you can bring in narration audio, or the actor's voice in the audio section, and you can also drag in the music separately. You can bring each of these parts in separately. I can bring in the actor's voice, bring in the sound effects, and drag in my music. If at some point, for example, you downloaded an audio from YouTube, maybe it was a clip or a music video that had both audio and video, here you just need to drag only the audio and it will be added to your timeline. Alright, let's also learn some shortcut methods. You have several ways to do this drawing. It can be made bigger or smaller. First, work on this part. Look, you can make this arrow bigger or smaller. Plus and minus on the keyboard. Alt and scroll on the keyboard. Do you see? Alt and scroll on the keyboard. And if you want all of these sections to be visible on your timeline, just press backslash and it will show your entire timeline completely. Alright, now let me tell you another method, guys. Whenever your playhead is anywhere, like here, using plus and minus, it zooms in and out from the position of your playhead. The shortcut keys are plus and minus. But sometimes we want to use Alt and scroll with the mouse, and it zooms in and out from wherever is selected. The tone gets bigger and smaller. Look, for example, I hold Alt and scroll, and from where I have select with plus and minus, I go from where my playhead is, it moves and you move. Okay? Let's go to this section. Guys, double click on this section. Your frame gets bigger, it gets smaller by double clicking. If you want to make this whole section smaller, hold Shift and scroll to zoom in and out. This section too, Shift and scroll will zoom in and out. Well, if you want to do it individually, Alt and scroll will zoom in and out. In this section too, you can use Alt and scroll to zoom in and out. Okay, and the keyboard shortcut is Ctrl+ for the video timeline. It's quite simple to use. Positive and negative controls for the video. Alt positive and negative for audio, with Alt positive and negative for audio. Well, with Shift everything gets bigger and smaller. No matter which section you're on, just be on it. You can also resize it like this with the mouse itself. If you want to have more video tracks, when you drag the video higher, it will add another one for you. If you want to do it manually, right-click here and select Add Track for Video or Add Track for Audio. Okay, I'm pressing Ctrl-Z. There's another method as well. In this section, you can set the number. For example, here I can set 3 for video and 3 for audio, and when I click OK, they'll be added. It gets added. Now this section also has a delete option where I can say delete 3 videos and 3 audios for me. It deletes them for me and removes them. Now I'll press Ctrl Z a few times. In the add section that we mentioned here, there's also a delete option right here. So keep in mind here, when you use add, it adds them one by one and deletes them one by one. It will add as many as you specify and delete as many as you don't want. Okay? Alright. I'm going to move my playhead here to this video. Alright, as we said, with data, this video gets added for me and you can work with it using shortcut keys. If you don't want to use shortcut keys, you can work with these tools. Last session, we told you about this. Guys, let's get into this topic. Look, here I also want to make the audio of this part smaller. I also want to make this one smaller so that this example is always saved in the timeline section. From the wrench or settings section, I select Save Preset and choose a name for myself. Iman. I click OK on Iman and this makes it get saved for me. Now, since I don't want it, I won't save it, but this way a save preset will be created for me. So whenever I want, I can bring it up here. Since I didn't save it, it didn't show up, but when you click save, it will appear right under your save presets. And this is for when you want to create a personal timeline for yourself. Alright, let's move on and take a look at this next snap section. What does snap do? Now, just take a look at this. Whenever I carefully bring this edge close to any section of the frame, you can see that it immediately sticks to it just like a magnet would. Whenever you find that this magnet is clearly visible and it starts really bothering you, especially if you feel like you can't move your frames exactly the way you want to, please remember that you can just turn it off whenever you like. See? Once you do that, you won't have any more problems or frustrations with it at all. Did you see? You won't have any more issues. When it's on, it snaps exactly to the edges of your frame. Well, sometimes it's necessary to have it on. In some cases, you can simply choose to turn it off and keep it for later use. Alright then, moving right along, the next option is linking. Let me bring this over here. Guys, I really want the audio and the video tracks to move together perfectly, okay? Now, if I go ahead and unlink it here, if I link it with everything else. If I unlink it, let me show you exactly how this works. It's a feature called linked selection. If I choose to unlink it right now, you will see the difference. As you can clearly see right here, it explicitly says that you have successfully moved it by exactly 3 seconds and 4 frames in total. This one went negative, that one went positive. If I move it, it shows me here. Alright, when it's on, they move together. I deselected it, see? There's another method too. Right click to link it. It no longer shows you the positive and negative values here. It only displays them when you are moving it. Okay, that's the part you can work with. Alright. The marker section is something we'll discuss in detail later. But let me say, sometimes you want to place a marker here to synchronize the audio and video together. You place a marker here. When you synchronize the audio and video, if you set this, it will create it for you here and also show it in your program's output timeline. Okay, so I've imported a bunch of videos into my project section. Now I want to see which one of these is my video here. For example, these are the rushes or footage that I've imported. If you right click and select reveal this project, it will select it for you. If you right click on any of them here, it will select it for you. Here it selected it again. Now you have another option called the one below it, Reveal in Explorer. What happens when you do this? When you open it, it shows you the folder you worked with or brought the video from. Again, I right click, select it, and here is the folder from which I imported my video. This is useful when you have a lot of rushes or you're working on cinematic projects and want to see which rush is in your project or which folder you brought it from. With this, you can easily find this tool anywhere you look, whether it is tucked away within your current project or stored in your drives. Let me take a moment to mention something important here. All of these different sections have a distinct colored label attached to them, right? Okay, now if I go ahead and bring in all of my raw rushes, you see, let me just bring a few more of these rushes into my footage so you can see exactly how it works. Okay, the number of my rushes increases. Now, I don't know which one belongs to which video, or actually sometimes I get confused. So I come here to the label and change the label color. Did you see that? It was done here. I'm going to navigate over here and modify the specific color of this label. Well, alternatively, if you just right click directly on it, you can easily change the label color that way too. It means only that one will be changed. Let me mention another point here. Hold on and see. In section A4, the first option. If this option, show source clip name, is not enabled, changing the label here won't affect it. It only takes effect when the first option is enabled. I right-click and change this label. You see its color changed. Be sure to remember, if you ever want to change the color of your labels, enable show source clip name and label in the settings section here, so you can change the color of all of them at once. So where does this come in handy? Guys, actually, there are times when your timeline has a lot of tracks, footage, music, and audio. For example, I have a music track, an audio track, an effects track, some footage, and another effect. With this method, I can color code the entire track and distinguish it. All the footage can have the same color too. The second camera can have its own color. The effects can all be one color too. This way, I've completely analyzed everything for myself. In a way, I've created a storyboard for my timeline. Maybe the word storyboard isn't quite right, but you can really bring good organization to your work. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Let me also take a moment to mention this specific point too. I realize that I still haven't actually told you about the important details regarding the keyframe axis. But I want to mention this point about the settings section. If I disable this option, show video keyframe, the keyframes that we set as motion or animation won't be visible here. Always try to keep this show video keyframe option enabled. Okay? So that they can be seen. Well, I haven't covered the topic of keyframes yet. I just mentioned that when you want to add a keyframe, if you want to see the actual image, this option must definitely be enabled so you can view it. Now, this next one is also very important for you to see, guys, so please pay close attention. If I go ahead and disable the show video option, which is this second one here, the entire video track will disappear from view. It also shows us in framing mode, but when it's turned on, it shows the actual film, and it also shows you a preview of your film. Now, I'll hold down Shift and make it a bit smaller, okay? So remember, if this one is for our keyframe and shows its preview, this one is for your actual frame, so you can see the image of your film. Show video name is where you can see the name of your clip. If I deactivate it, you see it removes the name, the frame names of your videos. Whenever this specific setting is currently active, it will automatically display all of them for you. Alright, let's go ahead and navigate over to this section right here, so I can demonstrate exactly how an audio track looks and functions within the timeline. Alright then, whenever I am, if I enable Waveframe here, or if I disable it here, it shows the waveform in a linear way. But when I enable it, it analyzes my voice or my music and displays it for us in an analyzed form. That's the difference, whether it's linear or not. I recommend always keeping it enabled so everything is okay. I'll also add a keyframe to the audio. Just like you enabled the keyframe in the video, it's also enabled in the audio. If at any point you don't see it and want to add a keyframe but can't find it, it's because this option isn't checked here. Make sure to enable it so you can see it here. Show name actually lets you see the name of your music or audio here as well. You can see the ones you've imported here and work with them fully. Friends, here we have a marker, right? We said the shortcut key for marker is M. When I press M here or press M right here, it shows me in the timeline section. When my film is selected and I press M, it shows up on the clip itself. Now if I uncheck the show clip marker option, it won't show on my clip anymore. It will only show up here at the top. Sometimes you might want it to be only on your film, not in this upper section. You can enable it and use the M key to add a marker, whether it's a clip or a video. Okay? That's the part where you can see it. Alright, now let's move on to the next options. Here I brought a clip and I'm going to make a cut from this very clip. We said that I haven't talked to you about cutting yet. We'll continue with it in the next session. So when I enable this specific option, you'll see that it shows me two triangles stuck together right here on the screen, forming a single shape. What does this mean? It means that this clip that has been cut comes from a single piece of footage. So when I activate this, I can tell whether the cuts I've made are from one piece of footage or from several. Alright, now let us go ahead and move on to this particular section right here. Okay, and now let's look at the FX. We haven't reached the effects section yet, but I want to mention these things now for later. Okay. Alright, so here you can see an FX has been created. If I uncheck this option, it won't show me. You should always check this part so that when you're watching your video, you can see, look here, okay, so I applied the effect to this. See? I haven't applied the effect to this one, it's inactive. For example, if I apply an effect to this again, it will activate it for me. So this shows whether your FX or effects are active or inactive. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Show composite preview is actually for when you move the upper layer. It gives you a preview of the lower layer next to the frame. This part is to make all your tracks smaller, and this one is to make all your tracks larger. So we've already told you the shortcut keys. We don't want to take up more of your time. I've already explained save preset to you. So the manage preset section is essentially where you can go to name your specific presets, or you can also add some detailed descriptions for them to keep things organized. Alright, now looking at this option right here, let me just say it one more time for clarity. The composite video header is the specific tool you use when you want to move these different sections of the card around, to customize the layout exactly how you want it to look. For example, if this comes over here, or that goes over there, or this one moves up, you can rearrange them here. It's for moving the panels. It's the same for audio. You can move things around and make adjustments there as well. Well, I haven't changed its default setting, and I won't. Okay. Now, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is this. When you are working on your projects, you can individually rename each of your lines to stay organized. For example, if I right-click here and rename it, or right-click the next footage and rename it to camera 3 footage, when you are deep into the editing process, this organized method ensures you know exactly which specific line represents your video footage, which distinct line is dedicated to your visual effects, And that particular line is actually reserved for your fonts and titles, or right here. I can easily rename the audio line to something more specific. For example, the main actor's voice, the background music, or even the sound effects layers. In this specific way, you can actually rename your sections as well. Now let's move on, guys, to the target. Actually, this particular part of the process right here. It is quite simple once you get the hang of it. V1, which is the same as our targets, or actually our tracks. I'm going to delete these, and with the dot, actually I want my video to come in. When I press dot, it comes and is placed here. Okay, it came onto V1 and A1, because those sections were active. If I configure these specific settings on audio track 1 and video track 1, then whenever I hit the period key on my keyboard, it automatically brings the clip right into the timeline here for me. I'll bring my playhead here so you can see it completely. Again, here I activate audio 3 and video 4. By pressing dot from the source monitor, it gets placed on that line. When you want to specify your tracks to decide where your next video should go, it places it here. Alright. Let's go to this section. Let me tell you about this on the side as well, and let me bring a few videos here. Here. Okay, first of all, how do I have this play so that when I move it, it's active in every frame that comes up in the sequence select follow play section? If it's deactivated, look, when you move any part, it won't select it, but when you activate it, look, by moving the playhead, it becomes active. Now, what are these? Here I select this and these. Okay? With the up and down keys on the keyboard, these move around for me. Do you see? If I deselect these, in fact, if I deselect them and only V1 is selected, when I press up or down on the keyboard, it moves to the next playhead for me. That means, let me, for example, here, let me snap this to the other one so you can fully understand. Okay, when only one is active, look, 2 frames or 2 footages moved over and landed on this one. If these are active, it moves the cut for me from cut to cut. But if they're not active or engaged, the next one will be redirected to that V-shaped version I showed you earlier. So that's what we said about making it visible. Alright. Locking is so that you can completely lock this section and make sure no changes can be made. You can't even delete it. See, as you can clearly see here, I can't delete these. I actually can't delete this specific one right now. And then you have the eye icon, which is specifically designed for making a section visible to you on your timeline. Muting is intended so that your audio track gets completely muted during playback. If you want to mute all of them at once, simply hold down the Shift key and click on one of them, and it will mute everything automatically. And then there is solo. I'll bring in a music track now and make another duplicate copy of it. See, now we have 2 different music tracks playing simultaneously at the exact same time. When I press solo, only the track whose solo is enabled will play, and that lets us hear just that part. Alright. There are times when you've added music, added effects, and you also have your actor's voice. If you want to hear only the actor's voice, you just solo the actor's voice track so you can listen to only the actor's voice. Okay? When my playhead is at this spot and I select another frame, if I press the dot key, it will jump to the next one. If my playhead is here and I select one of the footage frames and press comma, it cuts between those 2 and inserts it. If your playhead is here, for example, let's say it's between these 2 and I want to put my next clip between these 2, I can do this with the comma. Let me bring up the playhead so it can be seen. Guys, there's also a section called Record. When you want to record yourself or your voice, this is where it gets activated. You just need to make sure your audio is enabled so you can do it. Alright guys, there's a gap between these. If you want to remove your gaps, just right-click and you'll get the reply and delete options. If you're looking for a way to quickly remove all of the empty gaps in your timeline at once, first simply select the entire sequence, and then navigate up to the menu to click on Close Gap. Doing this will automatically and efficiently remove every single one of those gaps for you in just one click. Okay? Alright guys, let me bring in a few more videos here. When I bring it here, you see it turns yellow. I come and say for me from this, here is the mark in, up to here is the mark out. Now, with the key, I come to set the in and out for rendering. Just render this ticker for me. I use the render option and it does it for me. We're here as well. Let me say one more thing so this session doesn't get too long. To ensure that the process doesn't get any longer than necessary, we have a specific set of buttons on the keyboard called L, K, and J. You will find that the L key is specifically used for the play function. If I press L twice, it plays at double speed. If I press J twice, it rewinds and your playback goes back. For me, if I press L again, your playback speed increases. K comes to a complete stop, and then J carefully brings it back over here for me. Okay? Well, with the left and right arrows on the keyboard, it moves forward or backward one frame at a time. So remember, if you want to move one frame at a time, use the left and right arrows on the keyboard. If you want to speed things up a bit, use L to move forward, J to move backward, and K to stop. Alright, I'm going to split this session's tutorial into two parts because it's gotten quite long. I'll explain the persistence of the timeline section in the next session, where I'll show you how to cut and get familiar with these parts. If you're new to my channel, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.